The bride who entered the room of shadows, Livia, stood at the threshold of the dimly lit chamber, her saffron wedding veil trembling against her breath. Outside, the sounds of celebration still echoed faintly: laughter, the clink of bronze cups, the chant of wedding hymns. But inside this enclosed room, everything felt heavier, quieter, and strangely forbidden. It was the place Roman brides rarely spoke about again, as if some invisible vow bound them to silence. Tonight was the night she would learn the ritual every young woman feared, but none dared question. The room was warm, filled with the scent of burning myrrh. Oil lamps flickered against the marble walls, giving the illusion that the shadows were moving. 2 attendants stood at the corners, their expressions stiff, trained to remain emotionally distant. A physician in a dark tunic quietly arranged his tools. Small bronze instruments laid neatly on a folded cloth. And near the bed, half hidden behind a white sheet, stood the wooden figure every Roman bride heard rumors about but never saw up close. Livia's heart pounded as she tried not to stare at it. Under the cloth, the outline was unmistakable, tall, rigid, carved like a human form. But its purpose was something she had only heard in whispers, an object meant to guide or witness the transition of a bride into her new household. Some said it symbolized fertility. Others said it was an old legal remnant from a time when Rome believed spirits and ancestors must be present to confirm a marriage. Whatever the truth, everyone agreed on one thing. It made the wedding night feel less like a private moment and more like a public examination, disguised as tradition. Her new husband, Marcus, waited by the far wall, his posture tense. He looked as uncomfortable as she felt. Roman men were expected to be strong, composed, and obedient to rituals. But even he avoided meeting her eyes, as if ashamed to be part of something neither of them fully understood. The physician broke the silence. "The family is waiting," he murmured, his tone calm but firm. "The procedure must follow the proper form." Procedure. The word tightened Livia's throat. She stepped slowly into the center of the room, her sandals brushing lightly against the floor. She felt exposed, watched, judged. The attendants closed the door behind her, sealing everyone inside. For a moment, she wondered if earlier brides had felt the same cold fear crawling beneath their skin. She wondered how many had cried behind their veils. How many had tried to run. Marcus approached her carefully, stopping only when the wooden figure stood between them. He lowered his voice. "Livia, whatever happens tonight, know that I never wished for this. This ritual belongs to Rome, not to us." Before she could respond, one of the attendants lifted the cloth covering the wooden figure, and for the first time, Livia saw what lay beneath, something carved, something ancient, something that made her heart freeze. Asterisk the carved witness. The white cloth slid to the floor, and the wooden figure finally stood bare before them. Livia's breath caught in her chest. It was taller than she had imagined, carved from dark cedar, polished until the grains shone like veins beneath skin. Its face held no expression, only hollow eyes and a rigid jaw, giving it the unsettling look of a silent judge. Its arms were positioned at its sides, but the craftsmanship was so lifelike that it felt as though the statue could move at any moment. The attendants stepped back after revealing it, their faces unreadable. They had done this countless times, yet the air in the room thickened, as if even they felt the weight of the moment. The physician adjusted the lamp behind the statue, causing its shadow to stretch long and distorted across the wall. Livia's hands trembled at her sides. She wanted to look away, but her gaze kept returning to those empty eyes. Marcus moved closer to her. "It's called the testis lignum," he whispered. "The wooden witness. My father insisted we follow the old tradition." Livia swallowed hard. She had heard the term before, but always assumed it was an exaggeration. Some old tale mothers used to frighten daughters into obedience. But here, standing only a few feet away, it became painfully real. A figure carved not for beauty, but for oversight, for proof, for legality. The law once required witnesses, Marcus continued quietly, to ensure a marriage was properly consummated. In time, someone decided a wooden figure could stand in place of a person, but the elders continued to demand its presence, even centuries later. Livia felt a cold wave rush over her. Why must it be here? Why us? He hesitated before speaking. Because our families arranged this marriage to unite two houses. They want certainty. Tradition demands it. The physician stepped forward, interrupting their whispered exchange. We begin now, he said simply, as if announcing a routine task. He gestured toward Livia, motioning for her to approach the bed. A small tremor ran through her spine as she moved. The wooden figure remained between her and Marcus, neither fully separating them nor allowing them to be truly together. It was a barrier, a witness, a symbol of Rome's cold insistence on control. The lamps flickered, casting long shadows around the chamber. The physician recorded details on a wax tablet, his stylus scraping lightly. One attendant adjusted the veil on Livia's head to expose more of her face, as if she were a specimen to be examined rather than a bride to be welcomed. Marcus approached from the opposite side, visibly uncomfortable. He looked at Livia with a mixture of helplessness and apology, but his hands shook as he reached for her. Suddenly, the physician raised a hand. Wait. His eyes were fixed on something behind them. Livia turned slowly, fear rising in her throat. The statue's position seemed different. Its head tilted ever so slightly, as if it had been watching them not as an object, but as a witness that understood. The ritual no one spoke about for a moment. No one in the room moved. Livia stood frozen, her breath shallow as she stared at the wooden figure. The tilt of its head was slight, almost unnoticeable, yet unmistakably different from before. A trick of the light, she wanted to believe that. A shift in shadows. But the attendants had stepped back earlier, and no one had touched the statue since. The physician frowned deeply, stepping toward the figure. His sandals scraped softly against the floor. He reached out and examined the base, running his fingers along the carved frame. The wood has settled, he muttered, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. Old statue sometimes? Shift, but Livia saw the flicker in his eyes. Even he didn't fully believe what he had said. Marcus moved to her side, lowering his voice. Livia, look at me. Don't let this frighten you. He tried to smile, but the tension in his jaw revealed the strain he felt. It's just a symbol. Nothing else. Yet symbols were powerful. In Rome, they shaped law, family honor, and the fate of women. This wooden figure had watched over generations of brides before her, silent, cold, unchanging. But tonight, in the flickering lamplight, it felt alive in a way that made Livia's skin crawl. The physician cleared his throat. We continue. His calm tone returned, but Livia noticed how quickly he stepped away from the statue. He positioned himself near the bed again, taking up his stylus and tablet. The attendants followed his lead, resuming their roles with stiff discipline. Begin. The physician said. Marcus approached her again, slower than before. Livia felt the weight of the ritual pressing down on her. This was not a night of intimacy. It was a procedure observed, recorded, controlled. Every movement felt like an intrusion, every breath monitored. She wondered how many brides had cried silently in rooms just like this, wishing for freedom instead of tradition. But as Marcus reached for her hand, the chamber door creaked open. Everyone turned. An elderly man in a white toga stepped inside, Marcus's father, Senator Publius. His face was stern, carved with decades of power and political command. His arrival brought a suffocating silence, as though he carried Rome's authority in his very presence. I requested to be informed, Publius said coldly. This union binds two ancient families. I will ensure protocol is followed. Livia felt her stomach twist. This ritual was humiliating enough, without more eyes, more judgment. The physician bowed slightly. We were about to begin, Senator. Publius's gaze moved across the room, stopping on Livia before shifting to the wooden figure. His expression tightened. The head, he said. It's not aligned. The room chilled. One attendant quickly moved forward to adjust the statue, but Publius raised a hand. No, leave it. His voice was sharp, almost fearful. It has shifted, he said quietly, just as it did the night my own wife was brought here. Livia's heart dropped. Something had happened before, something no one dared speak about. The secret buried in the senator's memory. The room seemed to shrink as Senator Publius stepped closer to the wooden figure, his gaze fixed on it with an intensity that unsettled everyone present. Livia watched him carefully. His stern authority had shifted into something else, something almost fearful, something that suggested the statue was more than a symbolic witness of a ritual. It was a reminder of a night he wished he could forget. Marcus took a cautious step forward. Father, what do you mean it shifted before? You never told me this. Publius didn't answer right away. His fingers hovered near the wooden surface, but did not touch it, as if contact might wake something dormant inside the carved cedar. He exhaled slowly, and the lines in his face deepened. The night your mother was brought here, he said in a low voice. The figure moved twice. A chill crawled down Livia's arms. The attendants exchanged uneasy glances. Even the physician paused, his stylus frozen over the wax tablet. It was rare for a Roman senator to admit fear, rarer still to acknowledge a superstition. The ritual was supposed to be practical, legal, mechanical. But Publius spoke like a man haunted by memory. Marcus's voice grew tense. You never said anything. Why? Publius's eyes hardened. Because Rome does not tolerate weakness. A man cannot speak of fear, especially fear of something carved and lifeless. And because, he added, lowering his voice, what happened that night was dismissed as imagination by everyone but me. Livia felt her pulse quicken. What happened? To your wife? The senator looked at her sharply, as if deciding how much truth a young bride deserved to hear. After a moment, he spoke. She fainted, he said, before the ritual even began. Her veil slipped, and she fell against the statue. When we lifted her, its arm had moved, as though it had caught her. The room fell silent. Livia stared at the wooden figure, its rigid arms, its hollow eyes, its posture frozen in eternal vigilance. Had it moved? Had it reacted? Or had the fear of the ritual twisted their perceptions? Publius turned from the statue and addressed the physician. Ensure the ritual is completed quickly. We cannot allow anything to disrupt the ceremony. The physician nodded, regaining his composure. Yes, Senator. Marcus stepped toward Livia, concern etched across his face. We don't have to be afraid. The statue is old, nothing more. Do you trust me? She wanted to say yes, but her voice refused to leave her throat. Her mind replayed Publius's words. The senator was a man who commanded armies and swayed the Senate with a gesture. If he feared something from this chamber, then the ritual held deeper shadows than she imagined. The physician raised his stylus again. Let us proceed. The attendants moved into position. But before Marcus could take another step, the lamp behind the statue flickered violently once. Twice then it went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Wooden creak echoed through the chamber, not from the door, not from the bed, but from the statue. The night the witness woke for several heartbeats. The chamber was swallowed in darkness. Only the muted glow from the hallway seeped under the door, outlining faint silhouettes. Livia's pulse thundered in her ears. She could not see Marcus or the attendants, or the senator only the towering shadow where the wooden witness had stood. Then came the sound again. A low, heavy creak, like timber bending under weight, that the physician gasped softly. "Relight the lamp," he whispered, his voice trembling. One attendant fumbled with the flint, hands shaking so violently that the sparks died before touching the wick. Livia stepped backward, her palm brushing the cold marble wall. Her eyes strained to find the statue in the darkness. She tried to convince herself it hadn't moved, that the old wood simply expanded in the heat, that this ritual room, with its thick air and ancient expectation, wasn't playing tricks on her, but the creak had felt deliberate closer than before. Finally, the attendant managed to ignite the flame. The lamp flared to life, and the statue stood in a new position. This time, there was no doubt, its head, which had tilted earlier, now leaned further, turned not toward the bed, but toward Livia. Her breath caught. Her hands trembled violently. She could not look away. The wooden face, carved to be expressionless, seemed almost aware. As if it recognized fear and fed on it, Marcus moved immediately to her side. "Livia, stay with me," he said, grabbing her hand. "Do not let it break your courage." The physician approached the figure cautiously, holding the lamp high. The flickering light illuminated new details, fine cracks, old repairs, strange markings etched faintly near the statue's wrists. Symbols, ritual symbols, ones Livia had never seen before. The senator scowled. "This room is cursed by old traditions," he muttered. "I should have ordered this relic destroyed years ago." "Then why didn't you?" Marcus asked. Publius didn't respond. His silence spoke louder than any confession. Livia felt her voice return in a trembling whisper. "This ritual? Is it even legal anymore? Why must we do this?" Publius turned to her, his expression stiff. "Because Rome is built not on love, but on lineage. This ritual exists to protect inheritance, legitimacy, and power. And in powerful families, tradition is everything." The words chilled her to the bone. The physician cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "Senator, the night grows late. We must complete the ritual." But as he stepped away from the statue, something made him freeze. A scratch stretched across the wooden figure's arm, fresh, jagged, pale against the dark cedar. Livia's eyes widened. She had seen that mark during the brief moment of darkness. It had not been there earlier. The physician swallowed. This wasn't carved before. The senator stiffened. "Impossible." Marcus stared, horrified. "How would you know? None of us touched it." Silence fell heavily. Livia felt the truth forming like ice in her lungs. Whatever had happened in this room, across generations, whatever the statue had been witnessing, it was not merely tradition. It was something Rome feared, and something Rome tried to erase. Then, from the stillness, came a third sound, a soft wooden tap, like a footstep, not on the floor, from the statue. The ritual Rome buried. The soft wooden tap echoed through the chamber, sharp enough to slice through the thick silence. Livia felt her legs weaken, and Marcus immediately tightened his grip on her hand. No one dared to breathe. The attendants clung to the wall, trembling. The physician held the lamp with both hands, as if its small flame was the only shield between them and whatever ancient force lingered in this room. Senator Publius stepped closer, his voice breaking the silence. "Enough. This ritual ends now." But the moment he spoke, the statue emitted another sound, this one deeper, like an exhale from hollow lungs. The wooden figure stood unmoving, yet the air around it felt distorted, as if the shadows bent toward it. Livia could not shake the feeling that something inside the ancient cedar remembered more than any living Roman did. The physician whispered, "Senator, these marks, these movements, Could this figure have been part of something far older than Roman law? Publius's face paled. This chamber was built during the Republic. But the statue, he hesitated, as though revealing a dangerous truth. Its origin predates Rome. Livia shivered. Then why is it here? Publius lowered his eyes. Because the early Romans believed the spirits of ancestors watched the union between families. Some believed the first brides were not joined by men alone, but by the presence of their household god spirits who demanded proof of loyalty, obedience, and fertility. Marcus clenched his jaw. You mean this ritual was never meant for us? It belonged to another age. Yes, the senator whispered. But Rome adopted it, modified it. And when people began to fear it, we tried to hide it. Another creak. More pronounced. Now, the wooden figure seemed angled toward the bed, as if reclaiming its role in the ritual. Livia's heart raced. We must leave. This tradition is not holy, it is haunting. Marcus nodded. Father, I'm taking her out. Publius struggled between obedience to ancient customs and the instinct to protect his family. Finally, he stepped aside. Go. Tonight, Rome's laws can be broken. Marcus wrapped his arm around Livia and guided her toward the door. The physician moved to help the attendants escape, but just as he reached for the door latch, a chilling sound filled the room. A long, slow scrape. The statue's arm had shifted. Not by accident. Forward toward them. The attendants screamed. The lamp fell from the physician's hand, flames scattering across the floor. Marcus pulled Livia behind him, shielding her from the spreading fire. The senator rushed to stomp out the flames, shouting for them to run. Smoke rose quickly. Livia coughed, gripping Marcus's tunic tightly. Through the hazy light, she saw the wooden figure standing rigid once more. But its new position was unmistakable, 1 foot slightly forward. As though it had taken a step, they fled the chamber. The door slammed behind them, sealing the statue in darkness once more. Hours later, when servants returned to inspect the damage, they found the chamber burned along one wall, but the statue untouched, standing exactly where Livia and Marcus last saw it. From that night on, the ritual was quietly abandoned by their families. Historians centuries later would search for records, finding only fragments, mentions of wooden witnesses, forbidden ceremonies, and brides who felt eyes on them long after the wedding night ended. Rome erased the details, but the truth remained. Some traditions were abandoned, not because they were outdated, but because something inside them refused to sleep.